What's up, DBs? Coach D Magic here, former D1 defensive back. We're here to talk about the comeback fade. Once we get an outside release, our eye discipline on that. Here we have the Steelers working on a really good drill, because this drill directly translates to what we're going to see on the field, right? Make sure you go to thedbnetwork.com if you want access to, over 100 drills, D1 NFL drills. This drill is not in that, but you have it here, right? So you actually don't need to get the DB Mastery program to get this drill. But we talk about outside releases, right? So this is a press man drill, and this is going to help you when you get outside releases, because when you get outside releases, you're pretty much only going to get, like when we get past 5 yards, we're thinking stop route, comeback, fade, right? And that stop route and comeback is pretty much the same for us in a way, except it's where the receiver's turning. So, he could be turning inside around 10 yards. He could be turning outside around 15 yards. But at the end of the day, it helps to know where receivers' break points are. So imagine we're in press man. This yard marker right here, whether that's the 20 or the 30, I can't really see. That's the line of scrimmage. So now we've released, and now we're at that 5 yard mark, right? So now we know he's not just taking a couple steps outside and then trying to get back inside for the slant. He's outside releasing. So it's good to know where the break points are. So usually the 15 yard mark. And it could be depending on the receiver, right? And depending on your pressure, right? So when I say pressure, like if you're really on him, he might break it early. He might break it around 13, all right? Or he might break it at 18, okay? But right around that 15 yard mark is what we got to get ready for a break. So right here, this is the 5 yard mark. So 10 yards. 15 yards is where he's going to break that comeback, okay? So we want to drive, compete on the comeback. Drive, and finish through the comeback, okay? So, when we get an outside release, we should be in some type of tilt, okay? We should have either our eyes or our hips pointed towards the receiver, and I'm going to show you an in-game example where it's not, where our hips are facing vertical down the field, our eyes are facing vertical down the field, because at this point, we don't know whether it's going to be a comeback or a fade, okay? So our eyes are low. Once we start seeing that the receiver's not bursting off, all right, he's kind of starting to raise his pad level to sink his hips. That can be an indicator, but you never know what kind of receiver you're going to get. All right, but you're running this. We're 5 yards down the field, 5, 10, break at 15. And then the second part of this, all right, 5, 10. All right, we get past the 15 yard mark. Now we're at like 18, okay. All right, now we know it's a fade. So now we go from our eyes on the hips to our head up and back, trying to locate that football, squeezing off that receiver. All right, so again, this is a great drill. It only takes about 10 to 15 yards of space. All right, eyes low for the comeback. All right, if it's a fade, we convert, and however you teach guys to cut off, right? If we're already in the lead position, all right, just get in front of them, cut them off, and start widening him to that sideline. If we're kind of fighting for position, we can get our arm club over the top, right? Start to lean them, hook and lean. And this is how the drill will translate. We get the outside release. We do a good job of kick stepping, right? But watch the difference, okay? Watch the difference between the play and the live rep and the drill. So notice how we never have our eyes on the hips, all right? And our hips are completely facing forward. So we never have our eyes on the hips. You can tell, right? And now the receiver is able to club us by and create separation. So if we go back, all right, kick step, now is where we get the offhand. Now is where we want to have our eyes low on the hips. Have our eyes low. So let's count. We're at about, it's the line of scrimmage for us. So 5, 10, right at that 15, he starts to decelerate. But again, depending on the receiver, all right, this could be 15, but his momentum's going to carry him dang near 19 yards, okay? But that's when we start to get that indicator, right? So notice we don't have our eyes on the hips. All right, we're fighting for fade, and we get club by. All right, and it depends on how you're taught. Okay, I know some coaches that'll say, hey, we're playing top down and we're playing fade first, and we're going to compete on the comeback. I think because we're not in a lead position meaning our shoulder, right, is at the middle of his chest. Because we're hip to hip, right, and we feel like it's a potential foot race that we're losing, that we're just fighting to stay on top, to try to get into position. All right, and we're never able to get our hips down. But that's why we just have to trust our technique. Again, I'm assuming he's being taught this because the NFL, they're all pretty much taught the same thing. Kick step, when we practice it, keep our eyes low on the hips, and we got to have that, not that timer, but we got to have field awareness, right? So that's when you're doing the drill, now we're kind of have that internal clock of, we know where that, like, as we have our eyes down, we know, like, right when we start to get to that 15-yard mark, right? 5, 10, 15. All right, we would see it. We'd be in a much better position. And like I said, when you have your eyes facing forward and your hips facing completely vertical here, we really have no shot once the receiver clubs us by. I hope you guys learned something. Make sure you go to thedbnetwork.com if you guys want to get access to press man drills, NFL drills, college drills to help you guys go ahead and defend routes like this. So again, remember, when we're pressing, right, and we get that outside release, especially like speed releases, when we get that outside release, all right, we're thinking stop, come back, fade. All right, we want to try to be in a lead position, be on top of the receiver, be from the middle of his chest to his upfield shoulder, and we want to have our eyes low on the hips so that if it is a fade, we can easily turn, cap the route. If it is a comeback, we're in a slight tilt so that we can compete and drive down and compete on the comeback. If you guys have any questions, if you have any examples, make sure you drop a comment in the under the video. I know somebody wrote me about how to play catch man versus tight ends. I'm still working on that. I'm still trying to find clips, right? So also in the comments, if you guys can say, hey, this clip, I found a clip. It's this game, this time frame. Hey, break this down. That'll help as well. And then you can also DM me those clips on the Instagram, DB_network. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And last thing, make sure you guys go check out our podcast. We were interviewing, we got the top 3 DBs class of 2027, a top 10 safety class of 2025, I believe. He's going to drop soon, if not today, depending on this video. But I think these podcasts will really help you guys understand what it takes to be great. And like I said, we've interviewed the top 5 prospects for like the class of 2026 to 27, and they all have a lot of things in common. So if you're a parent, if you're an athlete and you're wondering what's the keys to success, make sure you go watch our podcast, because you're going to learn what it really takes, or at least what they did, right, to get where they are. So if you can add that to your game mentally, I think, aside from the drills, right, that is what's going to help you get over the hump and help you, get to that level where you're getting scholarships.